So, today is Friday, the 21st of November, 2025. And in literally 7 days, it'll be my 2-year anniversary since I escaped domestic violence and domestic violence at the hand of somebody that has narcissistic personality abuse. And as I'm coming up to this anniversary of mine, it's also my birthday in a couple of days. I escaped 4 days after my 27th birthday. I was reflecting a lot and I thought, what is something that I can share about my journey and how I got out of it? And I thought, what better way to do it than what actually started it all? How did I come to realize what I was in and how did I get out? What were the things that triggered it for me? What were my tools? What opened my eyes to see what I was truly in? So I thought I would make this video today. Welcome to my humble abode. 2 years ago today, I remember, I don't know if it was 2 years exactly, but it was definitely, I was still there, right? I was standing in my kitchen at the time and I was wearing my blue dressing gown. I was thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of here? I don't have any money. I don't have a car that's actually my own. I don't know what I'm going to do for work. I haven't been allowed to have a job or earn any income for 4 years now. I had a 2-year-old daughter at the time. The closest support system I had was my family who lived an hour and a half away. And I would just remember thinking, I need to do something drastic. I need to get the hell out of here. But before I got to that point, I stumbled across something on my TikTok For You page, as you do. And I'm going to share with you the things that triggered me into my life-changing journey. The first thing, you guys have probably seen this before. I'm going to share the books that got me. I'm going to share the books that got me out of it. The first one is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I remember seeing everybody on their TikTok pages say, do not do this book unless you want your life to completely turn upside down. This will literally rock you. This will change your life. And I'm like, obviously, I need that book. I need it. And I went into it a skeptic. I thought there is no way a book can do, these drastic changes. There's no way. Like, what could possibly be in this? It is a spiritual path to higher creativity. So it is insane. I'm literally still shocked about it. Now, essentially, I won't spoil everything that's in here. I recommend this book to every single person ever, especially the ones that I really, really care about. But The Artist's Way is essentially, let me just read some of it for you so you can get an idea. Now, in the contents, we've got 12 weeks worth of things that you have to do. We've got week 1, which is recovering a sense of safety. Then week 2, you go into recovering a sense of identity. Week 3 is recovering a sense of power. Week 4 is sense of integrity. Week 5 is recovering a sense of possibility. Week 6 is about abundance. Week 7 is about connection. We've got week 8, which is recovering a sense of strength. Week 9 is about compassion. Week 10 is self-protection. Week 11, autonomy. Week 12 is recovering a sense of faith. Now, it's very spiritual. She changes up the words to suit the reader. Like, there's some things that I underlined when I first read this. I read this 2 years ago. I learned to get out of the way and let that creative force work through me. I learned to just show up at the page and write down what I heard. Writing became more like eavesdropping and less like inventing a nuclear bomb. Now, there's 3 things that she gets you to do that are non-negotiables for this to work. The first one is something she calls morning pages. Morning pages is when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do before you scroll on your phone, before you check your emails, before you do anything else, you take the time to show up for yourself. And what it looks like is 3 pages minimum of longhand writing, your stream of conscious thought. And at first, it doesn't make sense. It is jumbled up. It is your messy to-do list. It is, I need to take the washing out and I also need to do this and I need to do that. And then eventually, by the time you hit the 2nd or 3rd page, you've brain dumped all of that little nitty-gritty things that you got to do, and then you start to get into your internal world, and it just happens. It happens because you eventually feel like you run out of stuff to write. And even if you get to the point where you're like, I don't know what else to write, you literally should say, I don't know what else to write right now. If you need to say that 3 times in a row before something else comes to you, keep doing it. It does not need to make sense. It does not need to be pretty. It does not to be grammatically correct. It is just purely there to unlock that side of you. And I was like, man, 12 weeks of every single day getting up to do this. I don't know if I can commit. Like I don't know. I was very skeptical about it. And I literally said to myself, all you need to do is show up. The night before, every single night, I made it as easy as possible for me to get up the next day and do it. I would get up an hour earlier before I would get my daughter awake. I would go downstairs. My book would be sitting there. I'd have my coffee ready, like my coffee cup ready to have a coffee while I'm doing it. I'd have my pen there. I'd have the same spot that I would sit in every single day. And I used to just envision that there was this future version of myself that is sitting at the other side of the table that I'm sitting at with my journal and my pen, waiting for me to show up. So it was like essentially the night before, I was like, I've got a meeting with myself tomorrow morning. I have to come. She's going to be waiting there for me. Just show up. And that's what I said to myself every single morning. The second I woke up, all I said was show up. And I just got up, went downstairs, sat at the table and wrote. The second thing that she gets you to do in the artist way that's a non-negotiable is an artist date. So once a week, you have to dedicate time for yourself to pursue something for you, whether it be something creative or fun or going to the movies by yourself, whatever it is, whether it's for 10 minutes, an hour, or a full day. Once a week, you need to give yourself an artist date. No one can come with you, no other distractions. You need to do something to fuel that creative side of you. Now, as time went on and weeks were happening, I began to realize that when I first started and I was explaining all of this to my abuser, I was like, because at the time keep in mind, I didn't know that I was with an abusive person. I didn't know what I was in. And I didn't know how much this person was, in fact, controlling me and my autonomy. So when I was explaining to him, like, one of the things that I have to do for this assignment is once a week, I need to give myself an artist date. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, there was no pushback. I was allowed to have these artist dates. So one of them was I did go to the movies by myself. I went and watched the Barbie movie by myself. And even that movie was like this. There was so many messages in that movie that I just took, like, these are signs for me. Like, that is just, there was a lot of synchronicities, which she also talks about, the synchronicities that start to pop up. And then after like week 3, week 4, I began to notice that I would let him know, like, I want to do this day or this time slot for me to do my artist date. And he would then reschedule things so he couldn't look after our daughter. So he was sabotaging very discreetly ways that I wasn't able to do my artist dates. So then I only ever got to do 3 artist dates at the very beginning for the first 3 weeks. And then the rest I never got to do. And the other one is a 20-minute walk in nature. That one I was able to do because where we were living at the time, I had a big, beautiful backyard. It was right near a forest. It was beautiful. So when I would put my daughter down for her nap, at the time she was only 2.5. 2.5. So she was still having a nap a day, and her naps were going for like an hour or an hour and a half. So I always made sure that every single day during her nap time, I was able to get my 20-minute walk in of the day. Sometimes it would go over. One of my artist dates that I did that really impacted me was when I was a little girl. I used to have this blue trampoline, and underneath the trampoline there was a clover patch, and I used to spend my afternoons after school looking for clovers in the clover patch. And in this artist way, like, that was a memory that unlocked for me. And one day I was like, one of my artist dates is going to be dedicating time to just look for a 4-leaf clover. And it took me days. I was dedicated. I remember being like, I'm going to find a 4-leaf clover, and that is going to be my artist date. So it wasn't anything to do with spending money or leaving the house. I had to get real creative with it. And I eventually, after 2 or 3 days of searching, like in the little pockets of time that I had, I was searching for four-leaf clovers. And after a couple of days of dedication, I ended up finding a 5-leaf clover. And I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this has happened. And it might not sound like a big deal, but the way that narcissistic abuse controls you is you have this inner critic in your head, which that's another thing that Julia Cameron talks about, is there's this inner critic inside of your head that just has so many negative self-beliefs about you. And mine was coming from my abuser. And it was things like, when I was looking for this 4-leaf clover, I had this inner critic in my mind going, just give up. This is so stupid. You're not 12 anymore. You're not 5 anymore. Like, what are you doing? You're 27. You're outside spending your time looking for clovers, as if playing is a bad thing. So I had to overcome all of those while I'm looking for this clover. And I'm like, no, I'm dedicated. I need to do this. One of my creative paths that did come out of this was writing. So I had discovered, like, I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. I just never had linked it together. So this really also unlocked that creativity for me. And I do have a blog post on my open journal blog, which is called Watershed, an open journal. And it's called Buffalo Clover. And it literally is like a little story about my exact experience doing the clover search. So 20 minutes of nature walks, artist date every single week, and morning pages every single day. And as time went on, I was just like, I was changing. I was completely changing. I was like, this book is actually doing something. This book is doing something to me. And I'm going to show you the journals that changed my life. 4 journals worth of my time doing the artist's way. This is, I don't even know the right words to describe these journals. These journals, when I read them, it is so bittersweet, because I read them and I'm like, I know her, but she doesn't know me. I know everything that she's about to go through and experience in the next 2 years. And these journals are me starting and discovering that I'm in an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage. This one was the very last one. And I think this one here is the very first one. No, this is week 6. Begins on week 6. This one's the first one. I've actually, even on my TikTok, I have read a journal entry from when I was in the abusive relationship. So if you are interested, go on my TikTok and have a scroll, or go on my open journal blog and have a read there. I'm very, very vulnerable online about my experience and my time with a narcissist. I literally have here my artist dates. Week 1, 2-hour clover search in my backyard. Week 2, I went and went to a 1-hour massage. Week 3, I went and saw the Barbie movie in cinema. Week 4, I had my own concert dance party at home. I completely forgot about this one. After my daughter went to bed one night and my ex-husband was away on a business trip, I just decided to put music on through the speakers in the house and just dance. Just dance and sing and have fun with it. And it was so much fun. I had forgotten that when I was a little girl, that's something that I used to do just in my room. I would have my music playing. I would be dancing and singing. But then literally week 5, I didn't have an artist date, sad face, broken heart. Week 6, I didn't. Week 7, nil. Literally, I got 4 weeks in of artist dates, and then I wasn't allowed to. I was sabotaged my time. Julia Cameron gets you to write out the artist way principles, and these are things like creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. Sorry guys, don't mind me. I just want to get a little bit comfy. I am on my beautiful, soft, cozy lounge, and I'm just trying to get comfy. Okay. I'm not going to go into too much of this, but we've got, you have a creativity contract that you need to sign with yourself, essentially. Then we get into week 1, morning pages. And I'm just going to give you a little example of what week 1, day 1 looked like for me in my morning pages. I'm surprised I actually got up at my first alarm today. I'm extremely tired still, and my hips and my lower back really hurt. We went to bed late last night, but I really enjoyed spending time with. The first thing I said mentally to myself was get up and get out of bed. When I got up to get out of bed was show up. So I got up, I did 2 small stretches for my hips, and I came downstairs. I noticed that my mind was already thinking about past events. And then in brackets, I say, my hand hurts already. I was remembering an embarrassing moment, and then I talk about the embarrassing moment. I'm not going to get into it because I start name dropping people that I'm like my self-conscious is talking about. But Julia Cameron also gets you to write out blurts, which is the negative self-beliefs. So I had to pick one of her affirmations in the course in week 1. I had to pick the one that when I read it, it made me cringe the most, okay? And then the activity is to write that out however many times. I think I wrote it like 10 times here. And then I had to write out my blurts that were coming up when I was writing this positive thing. So for me, one of the affirmations that she has written, the one that made me cringe the most, you're not going to believe this, is I, Shanice, am a brilliant and prolific writer. When I would read that affirmation out of the options that she had there, I was just like, this is such bullshit. I was like, this is so not true. So then my blurts, I had to write, these are the negative thoughts that I had that were coming up when I was writing, I, Shanice, am a brilliant and prolific writer. Blurts. This breaks my heart because I do not believe or think this way about myself anymore. Like, I do not speak negatively about myself. So like seeing that this was me and this was my mind just breaks my heart for old me. But my blurts were, I, Shanice, haven't got the education behind me to be a real writer. I, Shanice, haven't been reading or writing long enough to become a published author. I, Shanice, am too dumb to interpret and understand critically acclaimed literature pieces, and to be a good, successful author, I need to be able to. Then I had to do some conversions, and this is what I came up with. I, Shanice, am skilled and capable to learn as I go. I, Shanice, write in my own unique way that is new to the world and can only come through me. I, Shanice, can read whenever I feel like it and have my own way of writing. I don't need to read others' work to be good enough myself. I, Shanice, am intelligent and smart enough to succeed in anything I put my mind to. I can learn anything I want. I, Shanice, can write novels for fun. Not every book has to be critically acclaimed, and all that matters is I enjoy the process. And those were my conversions, and those were the new self-beliefs that I had to work on believing. And then I literally every single day, I was writing. I've got highlights. I've got notepads. I've even got all of the, oh, look at this. This is crazy. I haven't actually properly looked at this in a long time. Okay, look. Guys. I found a 5-leaf buffalo clover. This was on the 25th of July, 2023 at 11 a.m. I was ecstatic. I cried happy tears. I jumped for joy, literally. I danced. I celebrated. I did it. It took patience and determination. I always looked when I had the chance, and I found it. That feeling of accomplishment and showing up when I had every opportunity to do so has really paid off. I feel blessed, grateful, inspired, and more motivated, determined, and confident. When I put my mind to it, I can achieve it. And then I literally have them stuck in my book. I have a 4-leaf clover, and I have the 5-leaf buffalo clover that I found sticky taped in there. And then you won't believe it, A couple of days later, because I believed in my abundance, I found another 5 4-leaf clovers. And then, yeah, I continued the rest of it. I was just like, things are coming true. My synchronicities are happening. And I won't get too much in depth of everything else that's in there. And then the journals just kept going. I was like, okay, it works. I was like, it works. And then by the end of it, what ends up happening is you begin to write consistently about the same things. And when they are bad things, or when they're things that you're like, oh, I wasn't actually aware of how much this certain thing was affecting me, you change. You're like, I'm sick of fucking writing about this. I need to change something. And then naturally you do those actions that help you change. So this was a major, major key in my self-discovery and what I was experiencing. And what essentially started to happen was in my journals, whenever abuse would happen, I was writing every single day. So I ended up unknowingly documenting my entire last. When did I start this? Actually, I'll be able to tell you how much daily stuff of abuse I was able to unknowingly capture. When did I start The Artist's Way? I started on Tuesday, the 18th of July, 2023, and I left in November 2023. So July, August, September, October, November, 4 months. I have 4 months worth, which makes sense. I've got 4 journals. I have 4 months worth of daily interactions. And when I read back on it now, I can see like the highs and the lows. And I was documenting conversations that we were having. I was documenting words that he was saying to me. I was literally writing out verbatim text message exchanges that we had and the dates, because what I began to notice was something would happen, a day or two or however long would go by, and he would begin to gaslight me, and he would start saying things to shift the narrative. And I'm like, that's not true. And without my journals, he was always successful in gaslighting me because I had nothing to refer back to. And because I was writing everything down, my brain was absorbing facts and I was documenting it. So when after I started the journals and he was trying to gaslight me, I was like, well, that's not true, because I knew I had documented it all the day before. I was like, I trust myself more than what he's telling me now, because it's just not true. So me journaling helped me stop being manipulated. It stopped the gaslighting, and it made me have so much clarity that I don't believe I would have ever gotten without journaling, or ever gotten without the help of the structure from The Artist's Way. Now, the other 2 things that did it for me, you've probably been seeing these sit here now since, for what, 20 minutes I've been recording so far. And I want to say something before I get into talking about these 2 books. Now, I feel like every single person on the internet knows about Colleen Hoover and this book, It Ends With Us. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail or discussion about Colleen Hoover and the controversies that surround her, and I want you to hear me out. I'm not excusing anything or whatever. Just fucking listen, all right? Before I picked up this book on, let me get my facts right, all right? I want to make sure that I am telling you guys the truth to the best of my knowledge. If I open up my Goodreads, which is Shanice Sinclair, by the way, if you want to follow me, I started reading fiction books in 2023. Now, I'm scrolling all the way down to the books that I have read because this is important stuff. I want you guys to know. Okay. Now, the last fiction book that I had read before It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover was The Girl on the Train in 2016, right? I was a person that believed and I hate saying this because this is so, like, I'm a complete different, I just got lipstick on my microphone. But I'm a complete different person now. But my misbelief at the time, way back then, was fiction novels are rubbish. I used to think that fiction novels were something that you do when you're a child and you're not supposed to do it when you're an adult because it's a waste of time. Again, these are things that were programmed by my abuser as well, by the way. But fiction is a waste of time because it's not real, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, there's no point. There's no point. Makes me sick just even thinking that was me. Anyway, so when I started to see, again, on TikTok, okay, everyone raving about this book, it ends with us, it ends with us. I'm like, all right, well, now I have FOMO and everyone's crying about this book. And at the time, nobody was going into much detail of what the story was about. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to buy it. I was seeing it everywhere at the shops. Let's just have a look. Let's just see. Now, I started reading this on the 31st of July in 2022. And I finished it a day later. And my review was 5 stars. And remember, keep in mind, this is in July 2022. This is a whole year before I started The Artist's Way. My review was, first time in a long time, a book has brought me to tears. This book hit very close to home for me. 10 out of 10 recommend. And then, as you do, you dive into every single book ever. I went into everything. I was like, okay, this was the first book since my childhood that had actually moved me in a certain way. I was crying. If you are living under a rock and don't know what this book is about, it is about how the main character, the protagonist, Lily, falls into an abusive relationship with Ryle. And the way that Colleen Hoover wrote this hooked me in. She was brilliant at showing a reader how it is so easy to fall back into these toxic dynamics. And Ryle was doing things to her that weren't your typical black and white abuse. It was very manipulative. It was very covert. It was very hidden. And she starts to defend him and make excuses for him. And she even gaslights herself. And I'm reading this going, this is my life. This is about me. Like, I could not believe that the first book that I had picked up in so many years felt like a message from the universe. And it was like, it was absolutely world rocking. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, she's in an abusive relationship and everything he's doing and saying, it sounds like my husband. So then after that, I dove into everything. Colleen Hoover is, despite what you think about her, her writing style is very easy to follow. It's not overcomplicated. The world building in any of her stories are not complex. Like, it's great for beginners. And that's exactly what I was. I was a beginner in reading again. So I did this. Now, after I read It Ends With Us, I did binge a lot of Colleen Hoover. But eventually I became aware of this book. And this book is called The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This book will easily be my favorite book, my favorite fiction book forever, because again, it really opened up my eyes to what I was experiencing, and that was abuse and mind control and coercion. Now, this book here is, I'll read the back of it for you because it's not about domestic violence. However, it follows a cult theme. So it's really good at showing the reader how these victims fall into these predators, because the predators are so good at sucking you in and controlling your mind and changing your beliefs and twisting your values and lowering your self-worth and making you dependent on them. And the way that they condition you is strategic. Like, this book, when I was reading this book, I was like, everything that this guy is saying to these girls is what my ex-husband was saying to me. And I was like, I cannot. So these were just unlocking more and more evidence to me. I was like, these patterns of behavior, even though they're based on fictional people, the tactics are still like real life things. Like the words that they're using are still things that people out in everyday world are using on each other. Predators, that is, and abusive people. And it's happening to me, just in a different setting. Now, this book here, I'm going to read the back of it in case you do want to read it yourself. While in college in New York, Shay Evans and her best friend meet a captivating man who seduces them with a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the ones who managed to escape. Now, 8 years later, Shay's built a new life in a Tony, Texas suburb. But when she hears the horrifying news of Laurel's death, delivered of all ways by her favorite true crime podcast, she begins to suspect that the past she thought buried is still very much alive, and the predators more dangerous than ever. Recruiting the help of a podcast host, Shay goes back to the place she vowed never to return in search for answers. As she follows the thread of her friend's life, she's pulled into a dark, seductive world where wealth and privilege shield brutal philosophies that feel all too familiar. When Shay's obsession with uncovering the truth becomes so consuming that she can no longer separate her desire for justice from darker desires newly reawakened, she must confront the depths of her own complicity and conditioning. But in a world built for men to rule it, both inside the cult and outside of it, is justice even possible? And if so, how far will Shay go to get it? Read your trigger warnings about this book. It is dark. It is about abuse. But this book for me, I just could not believe how much it highlighted what was going on in my life. Nothing to the levels of extremes when it comes to the things that actually happen in the book. But when it comes to the mind control and the cult-like theme, that is when it really highlighted to me. I'm like, oh my God. A narcissist is literally like a cult leader, even if it's just a one-man show. And when you hear the word cult, you think of like this big group of people and like all of the famous stories that we hear of. But the same way that a big cult is driven by one person, one or like a couple of leaders to have that mind control, a narcissist does the same thing in a one-on-one relationship with you. And that book really highlighted it for me. Now, these books and learning about the predatory mind, I mean, everything that I know now and continue to learn kick-started because of these 3 books: The Artist's Way, The Last Housewife, and It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. These books, and along with my journals and me showing up for myself, I have to give myself credit where it's due because I really did put in the work. I really was so unhappy and miserable and confused. I was so confused about what I was going through. I had no answers. I didn't even know what a narcissist was. So after all of these things that were coming to light, and I finally had like evidence of things that were fitting me, I began to Google, is this behavior normal? My husband is doing da-da-da-da-da, is this normal? And some of the words and the behavior that I was putting into my Google searches kept pulling up NPD results, and I kept seeing the word narcissist and narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. And I'm like, what the hell is narcissism? Like, I had always heard that word. I just didn't know what it had meant. And then it rabbit holed from there because I watched one video and it was by Dr. Ramani. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I'm going to get the book off the shelf actually, because I'm going to show you another book that helped me from here. One moment. Okay, here are my other 2 books, all right? It was Dr. Ramani. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I came across her videos on YouTube and I literally binged all of it. And she was the best person that I had found that was able to break down narcissistic abuse in the way that she did. And then I found this book, which is also by her, saying It's Not You, How to Identify and Heal from Narcissistic People. And she honestly gave me every single piece of validation that I needed to know I am not crazy. I honestly thought that I was insane. I thought that I was going crazy. I thought, what is happening to me? And I was so isolated from anybody, all of my friends, all of my family, even people online. Like, everything was so heavily controlled for me. This was the first person, Dr. Romani was the first person that was able to put a name to what I was experiencing. And my world was completely rocked. I went through extreme grief and shock and all of the destabilizing emotions that you can think of when you discover that you are in a narcissistically abusive relationship. Your whole reality has been a lie. The person that you thought you were with does not actually exist. It is a mask, and they alternate between what versions of them they want you to see. Meanwhile, they're living a completely double life. We'll get into that another day, but this book and all of Dr. Romani's videos on YouTube and everything that she says, I owe her. I feel like I owe her so much. Everything that I study and work on when it comes to NPD, across my pages, I would not have known what any of it was if it weren't for Dr. Romani and all of the work that she does. I'm just so grateful for her. Then, as you do, rabbit hole. I'm like, right. It essentially was a rabbit hole from there. I'm like obsessed with understanding the predatory mind and narcissistic personality disorder abuse and how they condition people and how it goes so unnoticed. So then another great book I wanted to quickly throw in here before I wrap this up was Surrounded by Narcissists by Thomas Erickson. Let me start that again. Surrounded by Narcissists, or How to Stop Other People's Egos Ruining Your Life by Thomas Erickson. And this book here, I have read this so many times. And it's freaking amazing. It is another really great book that has fantastic breakdowns of narcissism. Like chapter 15 says, the challenges of being close to a narcissist. We've got a narcissist capable of love, emotions and narcissists like oil and water. When you love someone, you love the person as they are, not as you'd like them to be. Don't be so negative. What's the harm in a little narcissism? And then it talks about like misbeliefs there. Oh, my goodness. Phenomenal. Yes. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys today. The books that actually changed my life, the books that got me into understanding narcissistic personality disorder abuse and how it happens. And I never thought that they even existed. I didn't know what it was. And let alone I had become a victim and now a survivor of it. And I dedicate my entire online presence to helping educate women that are still currently where I was 2 years ago, coming up next week. I thought that this video would be a good little anniversary, because I have come so far. I am now in my own beautiful apartment, and my daughter's now 4.5 years old. I have been working in the corporate world for almost 2 years now, coming up this December. I have excelled in my career at my job. My support system has expanded. In just a little over a week, I'm going to be having my 29th birthday dinner with 20 girlfriends that I did not have 2 years ago. And I was able to invite 30 close girls that I actually wanted to be there. 10 of them couldn't come, but like my point is, my reality now, I did not think was possible. I did not believe was possible for me. The fear of the unknown could have made me stay there. And I just wanted to share this because anyone that's still going through it or is currently just discovering that they may be in a relationship with a narcissist, I was once you. And I promise you, once you are brave enough and once you show up for yourself and you are dedicated on showing up for yourself and changing your life, I promise you it's possible, and there is so much peace and clarity and love and support and freedom on the other side of it. I just wanted to quickly drop in here as well. I have been working on something for those of you that still are in that toxic place and need help, and you need some sort of guide on, I don't know where to begin, I don't know what the first step looks like. I have been dedicating hours and hours and hours and weeks and weeks and months building something for you. It's not released yet, but I do have a website with a wait list if you are interested. I'm creating a course that is called How to Actually Leave a Narcissist, and it's a 13-week breakdown of everything that you need to do and all of the things that you need to change with your belief system about yourself and how to leave safely, as safe as possible. Okay? It's on my website. Everything will be linked below. If you want to follow me on socials, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Shanice Sinclair, and I post videos on how to actually heal. Thank you for watching my video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more content on how to actually heal. Most ardently, Shanice Sinclair.